Hi, John. John? John? Oh, let me just look. How the hell do I do this? Okay, so, flip to my grimoire. I conjure thee to speak to me. Dost thou understand my English tongue? Answer me.
Wouldst thou like whimsy at a breakneck pace? Emotions buried under fussily designed set pieces? Wouldst thou like to dispatch Frenchly?
Yes.
Great, then let's watch the French
Dispatch,
we did.
the, 75th Wes Anderson movie, the second one that we've covered on the show.
That's right.
And I was prepared,
Oh, that's good.
very much prepared, to be done with Wes Anderson. Because it's much like I got done with Marvel movies, where it's just like, I'm good. I know what you're going to do. Like, we're all right. And this movie has reignited my love of Mr. Anderson.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I want to go back and watch the ones that I skipped. I really enjoyed it. I only, just before we even started, just one small thing, and I don't know what's up with her or whatever, but Angelica Houston should be Frances McDormand. And I love Frances McDormand. I miss Angelica Houston in Wes Anderson movies. And Frances McDormand did a great job. There's nothing wrong with it. I love Angelica Houston. And she was in at least one of his movies. No, two.
Well, and I believe she does some narration here as well, so.
I thought that was Frances McDormand doing the narration.
Nope, that's Angelica Houston, so she was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mostly agree with you. Like, I am enjoying this sort of latter phase of Wes Anderson. I have not seen his Isle of Dogs. I didn't see that.
I skipped that one too, yeah.
I feel like the Grand Budapest Hotel was kind of a departure for his other stuff. One of my huge problems with Moonrise Kingdom is it felt like he was covering ground he's covered before and didn't seem that into it. It seems like whatever daddy issues he's had with abandoned fathers has kind of been largely resolved, but he was still kind of like, this is all I know how to do. And I think he's gotten a lot more focused on doing really fussily, like, intricate set pieces that's fun. Like, I don't think this movie works nearly as well as Grand Budapest Hotel does, but I like that he's just doing new things with his aesthetic other than telling the same story again and again and again. I don't hate it. It's fine. I
like Wes Anderson when he doesn't give a fuck. And that's what comes across in this movie. Where it's not that doesn't give a fuck in a good way. Where he just went, yeah, I just feel like doing this. Yeah. Because this movie essentially is a mess. I mean, it's stories within stories within stories, with asides, with black and white, with color, with random cartoons, with some stuff looking like it was filmed in the 60s, some stuff like, it is a mess, but it's a mess from the mind of someone I really like the way he thinks. So it's like, yeah, I just get to live in your head for a bit. So you just intricately plotted this thing for no reason other than it just seemed like he was amusing himself. He just doesn't give a fuck. I'm Wes Anderson. I can make the movie I want to make. So I made this one. It actually reminds me a bit of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Not the movie, but the kind of directorial feel of it, of just, it's Tarantino going, I don't know, I just want to make this movie. Like, it's 3 hours of mostly people just hanging out. And then at the end, we kill the Manson family. Like, I don't care. I want to make this movie.
It seems like he really liked The New Yorker. And the people that wrote for New Yorker got really into it and went, oh, so I'm real into this and I want to make a movie about it, which is like a movie for 5 people. You know, I don't know what the New Yorker's circulation is. I'm sure it's, it's a huge magazine, but like people that are that into it that will recognize the list of names of the authors at the end. Like I knew like James Baldwin and a couple other them, but like none of them have written Warhammer 40K fiction. Why would I know who any of these people are? He's like, well, I love them. And I want to make a movie that's a literary magazine. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, hats off for doing that.
And as a writer myself, I love that this movie is serving me. It is saying this movie is a love letter to letters, and there's all sorts of hidden shit in the background that's for the nerdy literary types like myself. I didn't catch nearly all of them. But like, for instance, the flower shop in town is La Fleur du Mal, which is Charles Baudelaire's collection of work. It's the Flowers of Evil. It's like this beautiful bit of French poetry, which is for nerd asses like me. There's nowhere, you don't need to look at that. That doesn't help, but I'm sure there's a million other things in the back, but like, it's just nerdy shit. Yeah. I love his Bill Murray's line of just write it so it sounds like
make it sound like you write it that you meant to write it that way.
Is beautiful writing advice. I'm like, this movie is pandering to me, and I'm there for it.
What's tough is these are very different movies, but Edgar Wright, the director of Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim, whatever, made this movie, this documentary last year, or was released last year, about the Sparks Brothers, about the band Sparks. And one of the criticisms of it is, for as much as it tells you about the band Sparks, it doesn't tell you necessarily why they're so amazing, like what they did musically that was so different and really got into it. The movie is largely about how much Edgar Wright really likes Sparks and wants you to like Sparks too, and it's infectious in that. It's a fascinating movie, but it's it's essentially like a VH1 behind the music, but it's still just it's a lot of fun and it draws it out there. For me, I didn't get that same love of the written word from this. It didn't make me nearly as excited to get into stuff that people like Fraser Crane read and go, what a bon mot. It's still a good movie, but it did, for being a love letter to this sort of thing, that passion didn't come through. But I don't know that Wes Anderson understands passion necessarily. I think his what might be more sort of an emotional thing gets tamped down and shoved into very, as I keep saying, intricately designed set pieces.
Oh yeah. No, his emotion stopped with the dad issues.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of emotion here. I just more mean it's Easter eggy.
Sure.
It's just a lot of it just feels like it was made for people I'm not a big I've listened to the New Yorker, they have a podcast where they read short stories, and I've read some New Yorker stuff, but that's not necessarily my kind of nerd milieu, but it is kind of written for word nerds.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, thank you for that. In the same, it's going back to the Marvel thing. It's you read comics in the 70s through 90s and we made movies for you. So please enjoy.
Yeah. So, I think if that's your goal is to this is the movie for these people, that's great. I'm just saying that as someone who's not that people, it didn't do much to draw me into that world. And make me way more interested in pursuing who these people are, the people that they're based on are, other than the people that I already knew, because some of them I'm I don't really care, because they're the whole wraparound story of the magazine, which you could argue that Bill Murray is an absentee father in this, but it's in that he's largely not in the movie. This movie is supposed to be about how he's this editor and this is the last thing, and he made all these people's lives different by doing that. You get little peeks of it here and there. He just kind of drops in, but he's largely absent through the most of the movie, and that's fine. But that being said, a lot, with the exception of Jeffrey Wright, the people telling the story kind of are non-entities. It's certainly Tilda Swinton in the first one isn't. Her wraparound story feels completely unnecessary. I don't like the Frances McDormand piece in the middle is the worst one for me.
Correct.
It just falls the most flat. I don't know what it's referencing, and I'm bored by it. And it's got some of Wes Anderson's things that he does that I really don't like. But so I don't care. I don't care about the New Yorker any more than I did going into it. But at the same time, I got to give him credit for making the movie he wanted to make.
Yeah, I don't think that's particularly important to enjoy the film. The New Yorker isn't referenced in this movie. That's us bringing it to it,
But it's specifically,
you can't divorce yourself from the outside before you watch a movie.
But it's stuff. No, it's stuff he specifically talked about, and he tried to buy all the.
No, but he didn't
talk
about it in the movie. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah, but but then he references all the authors at the end. So there's clearly a tie.
Yeah, but that's after the movie's over. Yeah.
Well, it's still part of the movie.
No, I got you. I'm just saying, the in a perfect world where we could divorce ourselves from that, I think the movie's strong. It's just, but yeah, you're right. I still like it because I don't, I kind of like the idea of the New Yorker. It's, it's Ponzi and
sure, yeah.
And not Ponzi. Wait, I found out that word doesn't mean what I think it is. I didn't say that word. Okay. It's pretentious.
Pretentious. Okay, there you go.
Well, Ponzi is, but I didn't really. Ponzi has its roots in an anti, gay slang.
That makes sense.
Britain.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, because it's one step removed, I didn't realize it was referencing that. Because it's a feat, over intellectual, they're kind of slagging on gay guys. And I didn't know that. And I've used that word a lot. So if anybody heard me use that word, I didn't know that's what that meant. I I was using it like pretentious ass, not hate speech.
No, we used to get it. My dad used to get it. And I used to just read the comics in there, hoping this time it'd be funny, and they rarely ever were.
The other thing about kind of on a broader note on the movie is I like Anderson kind of pulling back on being subtle. Not that he was ever particularly subtle,
right.
But like the name of the town is Ennui sur Blase, where it's just, he's not even fucking, like, I just like that, yeah, whatever, that's what it's called. I don't really need it. There was a few spots in here that reminds me of early Tim Burton, where it's just kind of like, yeah, this is just representative of whatever's going on in my mind, less than trying to build a cohesive thing.
Yeah, it's a lot more sort of expressionistic in places, and I think that's definitely a good thing. Which is it's also tough though, because as he gets into these more, I don't know what else to call them, flights of fancy, you know, like specifically these worlds he builds in his mind. The buy-in is a little bit different, because in movies like Rushmore or The Royal Tenenbaums, you have, okay, so here's these unique weirdos, but here's real life like coming down upon them. Like here's Max is this like goofball guy, but then in the real world he's kind of a creep and whatever, but he's still, there's something charming about that. And then in Tenenbaums, you know, you have that everything's going wrong for them as adults, that this constructed world they've lived for themselves like is crumbling under the weight of reality or you know, the father showing up and all this stuff. And as he's gotten further away from that, like reality even being a part of it, it's a lot kind of, there's no counterpoint to it. And I think this while Grand Budapest Hotel is just sort of revels in that, I think this tries to have a little bit more emotional depths in places, and it doesn't always work. And it kind of fights against it, because there's a couple of bits later with, as much as I do enjoy the Jeffrey Wright section, there's a couple bits like with the cop stuff that feels really fucking gross. And in his, like, it's not cartoony enough to work for me.
Ooh, okay, we'll get to that. I'm excited to hear this hot take.
Yeah.
The first section is, well, they set up, it's an obituary. They set up what the movie's going to be, which I'm a fan of. I like a movie that goes, well, here is the table of contents, which is about to happen. But the first actual section is a weirdly short piece with Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson.
I still, to this day, I get their fucking names flipped. His bike reporter piece.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 minutes. It's a weirdly set up film where the first quote unquote act is like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
I really enjoyed it.
A little bit referencing some New York reporter that New York reporter wrote out a book or a huge article about rats that ends up being about the city and not the rat stuff. I forget that. Like Joseph Mitchell, I think is the guy's name. Didn't know that going in. It's something I found out later, but just breezy and fun, and like really, he's already directly ripped off, you know, or homaged Jacques Tati, who's a French filmmaker I like a lot. Makes these very whimsical movies. Like Mon Oncle is where the bit where the waiter at the beginning is walking up the stairs, and you see like him in little windows as he's going through all the buildings. Yeah, that's a bit from Mon Oncle, and it's fun, and that's the kind of vibe that whole movie has. So I was excited to see that, and this has that same kind of like breezy, whimsy energy, and it sets up the world that this takes place in, this French town of Ennui.
Yeah, and I love it sets up the language too, where each writer has like the scenes are written in their own kind of vernacular, but his is this Bukowski, everyth's dark and gross or whatever, but it's not. Like he's just writes it this. It's like Jeffrey Wright is the. Oh God.
Oh, I was going to say it's that like, man, like look at how these things have changed, and here's like the dark underbelly, but in Owen Wilson voice. You know what I mean? Like totally, it's meant to have that counterpoint of like, yeah, it's whimsy, and you know, like even the rats. Let's spend time talking to them. It's a lot of fun.
I enjoyed the 8.25 bodies are pulled from the river each week. The number has not changed even due to the size of the city. What a beautiful line. But that's the other part about like this being like for kind of writerly, you know, dorky types like myself, is that they really just overuse big words purposefully to make people sound shitty. And I love that. Like, especially the Jeffrey Wright section where like he uses words wrong a few times, which I mean, it's on purpose. Like this isn't the New Yorker. This is some shitbox thing that came from Kansas. Yeah. Like everything from Kansas. Everything.
I'm not from Kansas, so yeah, I agree. But yeah, it's a very wordy film to its credit and detriment, because I do think there's like there is so much information thrown at you through some of these.
Yeah.
Like it's such a quick pace that it does. I think it does merit other viewings.
I wish I had time to watch it again before we did the show, because I feel like I need another, at least one more, like, take my time, watch it with subtitles on.
And there's bits I like less the second time through. I think I liked the Jeffrey Wright section more the second time through.
Yeah, the Benicio del Toro one also it works. So I liked it. This is my second time seeing the movie. I saw it when it first came out and watching it now. The kind of joke intro of her posing naked and then it's revealed they're in an insane asylum / whatever is a beautiful joke. And it doesn't really work as well the second time because it is like this discovery by watching. It's just an interesting kind of piece where certain parts, because like the first time I watched it, I didn't dislike the chess part, the Timothée Chalamet part. I didn't dislike as much. This time I didn't dislike it. It's the weakest part of the film, and I get what he was going for, and I just think the energy level was off. I think Chalamet's miscast. It's just there's a few things wrong.
Well, so I think the concrete masterpiece, the first section, is I would say the best Wes Anderson bit of the three, in that like it's got like subtext to it. There's stuff that's kind of thrown off that's really actually kind of heavy. Like the bit where you're seeing I don't remember the actor's name, unfortunately, but he played the guy that plays the young Benicio del Toro. And
I don't know his name either, but I recognize him.
When it shows the passage of time by him standing up and like swapping places with Benicio del Toro, and Benicio del Toro kind of like, puts his hand on his shoulder. That I found that like extremely affecting. And just the overall, even though it's kind of presented lightly, just the overall thing about like how hard it is to create. There was a lot of like emotion under glass in there, but I felt like it was handled a lot better. That there was actually some like weight to it, but still like presented in a little bit breezier of a fashion.
That is the strongest one emotionally of all the pieces. Other than the Bill Murray stuff, I think emotion comes across, but it's just I think Bill Murray just oozes, like there's something about him that makes you want to emote when you're looking at him.
Yeah.
But there's the Adrian Brody's good in that too, where there's something which I'm loath to admit because I don't really like Adrian Brody, but he's got something going on there too. Like I don't know what his backstory is as his character, but like something about him makes me want to like him. Like there's something there.
Because you get the sense that he's a character that Benicio del Toro's character is this like amazing artist who's in jail. He found out while in jail that he was an amazing artist. Like he did some stuff ahead of time, but Adrian Brody being in prison for I think it was some sort of like white collar
Tax
crime.
evasion,
Sees his work and decides that when he gets out, he wants to do stuff with it because he's an art dealer along with his uncles. But it's not just this like, oh, this craven money is going into it and that's going to ruin the art. It's that Adrian Brody like genuinely loves this stuff. Like he recognizes a genius in Benicio del Toro and wants him to flourish, wants to make money off of him. Sure, that's an element of it. And but like generally like likes what he sees and is frustrated that Benicio del Toro is not doing it. Just not only from the financial standpoint, but from the fact that he's like, this is amazing art. You're capable of this. Why aren't you doing this? And I recognize that a little bit in my own life. Like I was in some TV classes with people that were amazing, like just doing like really cool stuff with cinematography at like age 18 or whatever that I could, when I was just like redoing Mr. Show bits, could never have even assumed. And they hated it. They like, I don't like working in this. I'd much rather go write or something like that. And it blew my mind. Cause I'm like, I am so mediocre but you have it and you're just walking away from this. What are you doing? So I totally get that. I hate Adrian Brody, but I really like him in this.
Yeah, there's something about Wes Anderson that kind of brings out Adrian Brody's not hateable.
Yeah, some spark of humanity that exists in the darkness of Adrian Brody.
In this section, so that's Tilda Swinton, right?
Yep.
That's the writer.
Yeah.
It took me forever to recognize her. I don't think that's effective as an intro for this section, but I really like it. Like I just like her talking in that voice and her being in this weird corn museum in Kansas. Like, I like that, but I don't like it as anything to do with the Benicio del Toro stuff.
Did you see Grand Budapest Hotel?
Not the whole thing. I've watched scenes of it.
Well, because I think with that, like the changing framing stories overall, like work
Oh, I'm kidding. No, I didn't see that one at all. Sorry,
Okay.
I got my movies mixed up. No, I haven't. Seen
Damn,
that
you
one.
got me.
Sorry. No, it's just
April Fools.
but what you're about to say is going to be couched in me at least having familiarity with the film,
Okay.
which I do not. So you may have to reword your thing. So
Well, no, all I'm
therefore, I
saying- so
corrected.
like there's framing stories around the whole thing, and actually like it kind of goes like it starts in one story, and then it kind of like goes into this other story, and like it remembers like, okay, remember this guy, and then this guy remembering, and it goes into another story there. Box within a box sort of thing helps with the overall framing of the story and what it's saying about memory and stuff like that. A lot of the framing stories just seem completely unnecessary and frustrating isn't the right word, but it's just like, I don't know why they're there. Like the Tilda Swinton, yeah, and I don't mind that they're there, but they just seem superfluous. Like her talking in front of this crowd, Jeffrey Wright's TV interview, rather than just being like, here's the story. But I mean, it allows them to kind of be in Jeffrey Wright's anyway, it allows them to be like a step away from it. So you get Bill Murray's involvement later, whereas Tilda Swinton's is just, here's this little epilogue afterwards of her explaining her expenses to Bill Murray. It is completely unnecessary. And like the weird throwaway gag of her, oh, here's a picture of me nude, and this guy tried to have sex with me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. That felt kind of gross.
I feel like maybe there was something cut. Like something felt unfinished about that, but I did enjoy it. The one thing that threw me is, so you being from Kansas, how do you feel about the weird Beverly Hillbillies joke? Because her name is Clampett.
That's the Beverly Hillbillies weren't from Kansas.
No, but what I
Much
mean
like
is
me.
hillbilly. I mean, that's, look, it's the same thing.
No, it's not, because you're talking about California hillbillies versus Midwest hillbillies.
No, they moved to California.
Right. But they didn't go
yeah,
that
so it's
far.
somebody
They were
from the American-
they're from the Ozarks. That's not Kansas.
Yeah, no, I know. But what I'm saying is they're hillbilly,
What I'm saying is that you are lumping together people.
Yes, I am. And I'm glad. And I'm glad to. All you fucking Iowans are the same way. What I mean is, it's just a weird joke that he's using, and that name must be purposeful, especially given his age. And it's somebody from a weird place going to like a more sophisticated thing. It's just a weird. I don't know. It's a weird choice, and I don't really know how to dive into it.
No, yeah, I think it's just throwaway gag like that. Because I mean, later when Ma Clampett is Ma's describing the frescoes. And she sounds like a hick, but she's saying very fancy things about it.
Yeah.
It's just that joke.
It's been since, who's the guy that did City Lost Children?
Janae,
yeah. Janae has this ability to get people with really fucking weird faces and put them all in one scene. And not since then have there been weird faces in the pottery and basket weaving scene.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson just focuses on these people with just the strange. It's so great because you don't see people with weird faces, and I don't know. Maybe they just live in France, judging by Janae and this scene.
Yeah, him and cinematographer Robert Yeoman just do some amazing setups here, and really, there's a lot of, as with a lot of Wes Anderson stuff, there's a lot of people as architecture sort of thing, but it's beautiful. It's very well done. And there's
People's architecture is a good term. Is that yours?
No, I remember reading it as a critique of Fritz Lang's Metropolis years and years ago. But it's basically just like removing the humanity from people to just sort of have them be intricately designed. But
it's a good term. It's very descriptive.
But I do think that's certainly an argument to be made about Wes Anderson's whole deal. But I think there's definitely times in here where it's still the humanity of these people come across too. And I think some of that's their weird French faces.
Yeah, exactly. And we're allowed to say it because we're both French.
And we're both handsome as hell. So
Fonzie's in this movie.
Yes.
Henry Winkler himself.
Yeah.
And turns out I really like him because he's in that show.
Barry,
yeah. And he's quite good in that. He's one of those guys that I just know him as Fonzie. And then recently it turns out he's a good actor and has a good kind of gravity on screen. The other uncle or whatever, the guy that runs the gallery with him, is 85% Richard Dreyfuss. I know that's a famous guy too, but he looks so Richard Dreyfussy in this. I'm could you just find Richard Dreyfuss?
Well, he's Bob Balaban, who's his own thing.
Bob Balaban, that's it.
I don't know if you remember in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he's the translator they find at the beginning and kind of carries through the whole time. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do remember that. Yeah.
I always think of Bob Balaban, like, and it's unfair because Bob Balaban is a very talented guy and is in a lot of great movies, but I always just think of he was in this terrible Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts movie called The Mexican. And there's a scene where like they open the door and he's like the big bad guy and he's standing there eating Doritos and like the bag is very like facing the camera. And it just made me think of like that bit in Wayne's World where they're like, we would never sell out. So whenever I think of Bob Balaban, I think of Doritos.
I thought about the Mexicans that came out whatever year that was.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, it's weird that the connections you'll make. Like I was talking to someone about Christopher Lee, and that for the longest time, Christopher Lee to me was the guy from Gremlins 2. Because that's what I saw him in.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And so it's always like, oh, they got the Gremlins 2 guys doing stuff. They got that actor. And then like, I later realized like who Christopher Lee was. And then
for me, it's the Battle of the Five Armies, the greatest movie ever. So there's a really delightful scene, not to go over like every square inch of this, but where Adrian Brody interrupts his parole hearing to demand, can we just punish him in a different way? It is so fucking witty.
Yeah.
And then his right for petition for parole was revoked permanently.
Yeah. It's very,
so
very funny.
good.
And honestly, like, I think this movie, I wouldn't normally suggest this, but I do think this movie is you can just break it up and watch the individual pieces and they're fantastic, I would sit down and watch this section a whole bunch because I think it's the most fully formed out of all of them. And I think it speaks to his strengths the most, and reaches levels that the other ones just don't.
Yeah. There's a great little sequence where he locks himself up in the electric chair and tries to get a guard to kill him. Mm-hmm. And this is the first part of the movie that reminds me of Tim Burton, with the electric chair just has like a symbol for electricity with a switch.
Yeah.
It is so like this, just the raw. So was that this movie we were talking about Jung? Like it's this Jungian archetype of how to make information get carried over.
Yeah.
It's just lightning bolt symbol on a stand. It's almost a high school prop style thing, and it just works so well.
Yeah, like it's totally like a play bit. And the Addams Family movie has more effort put into its electric chair, but it totally works for the world of this movie and the little dollhouse Wes Anderson has created. It's perfect. Yeah,
though the pinball machine for the French Dispatch is beautiful. I mean, you get into the top level and then you just start flipping book pages, and it's really good. Yeah. Oh, another great. I'm not going to bring up all the funny jokes because I think this is his funniest movie, to be honest. But when Adrian Brody visits him they go 3 years later, ... And Adrian Brody is visiting him in the jail, and his first line of dialogue is, "It's 3 years later." It's just so. I mean, it's the wittiness of this, like the kind of inner reference. It's
like I said, this first one in particular is pretty pell-mell, and it's very fun and breezy, but at the same time, like covering up for like the depths that this story actually has, and I think it's very expertly done. And I think part of the problem though is that pace is hard to keep up for, like, as a viewer to be like engaged with that like this entire time, particularly when you're like, okay, we're done with that story, now this story.
Well, I think he tried to do it that way, like try to control like the pacing and the tone, but he just hits too much breaks in the chessboard part.
Yeah.
One more amazing line from this section. When Adrian Brody yells at him, "Get out of that wheelchair. I'm going to kick your ass up and down this hobby room."
Yeah. Because he finally...
Kick your ass up and down this hobby room is a beautiful, beautiful line.
Because Benicio del Toro's character finally makes the paintings that Adrian Brody wants, but he makes them frescoes built into the wall of the hobby room. And so they're beautiful and amazing, but they're immovable.
Yeah, the bicycle part is really good too. But
yes, the bicycle part is great.
3 minutes. Yeah.
Start strong.
You know, I was thrown, and this is it's hard for me to talk about because people are just going to think I'm making some dumb joke, but it was weird to see tits in an Anderson movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's had them before, like in Life Aquatic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it is still like, I remember having that.
What did he have?
There's like that like someone's assistant who's nude through most of it, because it's very French, you know.
Oh shit! I guess I forgot about that. It was just, it kind of threw me because it's in that he's emotionless, he's also quite sexless. You know, Wes Anderson is a filmmaker.
Yeah, which is strange because I do think like how he deals with women is a little weird in this, in like not just in this, but kind of in his whole thing, because he has these sort of dollhouse creations, and his characters are sometimes these very sort of, I mean, very one note kind of dolls. Sometimes it feels kind of gross. Like I think that the young lady from the second one feels very much like I don't know. I don't have the words for it, but it's this very kind of like, because she's always wearing the motorcycle helmet and this particular outfit, it just feels like this creepy creation out of his mind or something like that. And they try to give her a character, but the whole thing is just like, you guys should smooch. And it's strange.
I think that one, the attempt to try to mimic the summer '68 or whatever that French thing is, where the French students had the revolution, and him trying to get like these French archetypes, like, Timothée Chalamet having like the douchey puberty mustache and constantly smoking cigarettes. Like I get what he was going for, but it hangs weird on the moped lady. Just because like it gets a little like it's almost weeby.
Yeah.
Like it's got it's got like kind of anime fan.
Well, because it has this whole thing of like women being these sort of unknowable muses. Although the first one does try to give Léa Seydoux a little bit more character, and particularly like at the end where it's like, no, she just runs away, and like she gave birth to a child she had to abandon, and so there you go. But the whole thing where like both the female reporters like fuck their subjects, that's a weird little bit to have running through there. Where it's not something that comes up with the men. I don't know. I just felt like there was some weird gender politics going on there. That not really. Well, it's not enough to like ruin the movie or whatever. But I do think it's worth noticing.
The only thing that you're putting as a negative that I would say is a positive is the fact that Frances McDormand is very too old for Timothée Chalamet. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, I think that's got a bit of a progressive, like, you don't see older women bang young guys in movies, and you see old dudes bang young people fucking constantly. And that was refreshing. And also, I think Frances McDormand is like a nice looking lady. So it's I don't know. It's just kind of nice to see next to each other.
It shouldn't happen, and these people shouldn't have sex. I just think it was an odd choice to make that an element of both her character and Tilda Swinton. And like, that's not a feature of anyone else. And I'm again, like, I don't know what his intentions were. I don't need him to be morally correct to have this be a decent movie. Well, but I'm just saying it was an odd choice to make.
So there's another interesting aspect to that. So there was no sexualities brought up in the Owen Wilson part, but in the Jeffrey Wright part, he says he's homosexual.
Right. But
so there is a weird, not that homosexuality is weird, but there is almost aversion towards the typical male chases female story tropes.
Well, and I think in that one too, like it underlines, like, him being homosexual also underlines to this, like, the difficult solitary life of a writer, and how, he's struggling with all this other stuff as well. Cause he has that whole speech about, having solitary meals for himself, and that he's isolated because of the job, but then because of trying to love or whatever. Like there's just little moments there, but Tilda Swinton's is much more like I'm just living this bourgeois life, and these things happen and whatever. And so I understand that as a context for her character. But again, like, the whole wraparound story with her character felt just completely unnecessary to that. Like, because I know like that in both the other ones, like, some of it's because in all the other ones, whether it be you're seeing Owen Wilson do these things, Fran, I forget her character's name, Lucinda Kremens, Frances McDormand, is inserting herself into this revolution, and then Jeffrey Wright's character, Roebuck Wright, it's about him being a part of this police thing. She's not involved in that. She's just telling the story later, and they just also throw in like, oh, he tried to fuck me, and then we had a weekend getaway at one point, and it just felt like. I also
question whether that actually happened. Just from a writer perspective of whether that's just her trying to desperately, because she is trying to be part of that story that she has no part of so hard.
No, and that's an interesting read on it. But it is, I do think that makes it a little, it's different than the other stories they're trying to tell, because for being ostensibly about this magazine, it's like, well, this is, yes, you're the one telling me this story. And this movie has so much narration and so much like spoken words throughout it. Mike Flanagan was getting jealous, but there's like, it's so unconnected to the story compared to the other ones. It just doesn't hit as well.
Yeah. All right. So anything in the chess match thing that we need to talk
I mean,
about?
that was my big thing. Is really just that Juliet is a creepy doll that Wes Anderson wants to make his dolls kiss, and I don't remember the critic that said that, but man, that's just been very much my experience with Wes Anderson. It doesn't work. Like it needed to be either like a full movie, because I feel like there's just a lot of stuff that's kind of glided over, and like Frances McDormand does a great job, but like to me, her characters, there's not much there to her. She's just like, I'm sad and lonely, but I write a lot, and that's it. So, she's interesting. I want to spend more time with her, but there's just not enough there.
On the I'm sad and lonely and I write a lot, Alex raises his hand. I definitely enjoyed this section a lot more than you did, but the students, I like the Frances McDormand stuff. The student stuff left me, not all of it. Like I like the part where it randomly turns into like a part from a one-act play where they're like, and that guy jumps out of the window. That was fun. And I love that they just kill Zeffirelli like at the end, just for, he just dies young. He falls out of that tower into the river. And then, but he's found in that same river that's referenced in the Owen Wilson part. Right. He's part of the 8.25 people found in the river, which is just, I mean, again, it's witty, it's whimsical.
Yeah, which that like I think it like the whimsy undercut some of the pathos it was trying to go for, which usually he's a little bit better about. But I also like him getting shocked and actually dying. Just made me think of a thing I hated about Moonrise Kingdom is when the little kid gets electrocuted and nothing happens. So why did we even bother with that? But whatever. That's a whole other movie. But yes, the one act play thing again, it's like, well, okay, this is a little unnecessary and extraneous, but I'm still enjoying it. They're also because there's an appearance by Rupert Friend. That's the actor's name.
Great name.
I feel like we've done another movie that he's shown up in, but whatever. He plays the guy in the play at the beginning that's like regaling them right before bedtime. But yeah, and that was it. Just that felt a little extraneous, and then pushing these things away into smaller and smaller boxes. So you have this story that's like kind of told from a distance because it is you're watching this news story of this thing, and then the guy's story, the deserter story in the written story now becomes an additional level away as a play. And so when the guy in the play kills himself, it's really like, it feels so strange to me. You know what I mean? Like, am I supposed to have an emotion about this happening? Because you're presenting it in this really emotional way, but it's so distanced and told in this such like 4 arms lengths away from what's happening that I don't really feel that what you're trying to hit me with here.
Yeah. I don't just disagree, but I somewhat enjoy that from Anderson, where especially this middle section where it's just kind of, I don't know, almost like archetypal people wandering around. There's not a lot of emotion to it, which is, I think maybe if this one was, I don't know, 5-10 minutes shorter or a full movie, but either way, we're both agreeing it's not the strongest point. I just do want to say, please turn away. I feel shy about my new muscles. Is a classic Wes Anderson line. There's so many of his characters over the years that could have said something like what was the name of the kid that can't tell time in Royal Tenenbaums?
Oh, Dudley?
Dudley. I feel like Dudley could have said that.
Well, they have that same character in this one. That's basically like the writer that's just there that has never written anything.
I love him. I love him.
But I'm like,
I want that to be in every movie.
Yeah, just the Dudley again, which I'm fine with. Like, it's a funny thing, but it's not like they spent a lot of time with it. But yeah, this just, I don't know. It's whatever this was going for. It didn't work for me. I found myself really just bored and frustrated through most of this section.
I feel like watching it on its own, I'd like it strong enough. It's just, it's not the strongest part of the film. I think Chalamet is not, and I like him, but I don't think he worked in this.
What's funny is this is the first movie I've ever seen him in, because I never saw Call Me by Your Name or anything else he's been in. So this is the first movie I see him in. Yeah. And then like, a month or so later, I see Dune, and there's references in both of them of his new muscles. Duncan Idaho is like, oh, you're getting some muscles there. And I'm like, what's the deal with Timothée Chalamet's body? This is kind of creepy.
Yeah, but at least Duncan Idaho dunked on him, where it's like, no, you don't have muscles, which was fun. It's not that, I don't think any one actor would save this, but I think you need like a young Schwartzman kind of type where there's depths and layers to a performance, and Timothée Chalamet, I think, just did what Anderson told him and doesn't have that kind of, I bring extra things to. Like Jeffrey Wright has that, where even if he doesn't have much, it's just kind of like, yeah, you got stuff going on inside you. Like he just brings that, that aura.
Yeah.
But speaking of Jeffrey Wright, the taste and smells of private dining room of the police commissioner, Jeffrey Wright, who has a typographic memory, which I found a quite funny thing. Like, oh, you've got a photographic memory. No, I have a typographic memory. I remember everything I've ever read.
Yeah. And like, I love his voice so much in this. Like, I could listen to it. And this is, so this one, he is is telling the story of the time he supposed to attend a private dinner at commissioner of the police force of Ennui, and it's supposed to be police officer / chef there named Lieutenant Nescaffier, who's supposed to be just amazing. But then in the midst of all this, the commissioner's son gets kidnapped, and he goes on a wild adventure to save the commissioner's son.
And Escoffier is like a famous chef from what I know.
Oh, the name Nescaffier is a
Escoffier, I think, is the guy that basically invented French cuisine.
Really? Because it sounded to me like he was saying Nescafe.
Oh no, but what I'm saying is Escoffier is the guy. So like,
Escoffier.
I think Escoffier is the guy that like invented French cuisine. I think that's what I'm saying is his name is like a play off of that.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, and that is actor Stephen Park, who I like, and is or Steve Park rather. And he's the guy in Fargo, the creepy guy that's hitting on Frances McDormand, the old friend of hers that she meets up with.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's him?
That's that actor, yeah.
Oh, shit. I never would have put that together.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. I like him. I mean, he's not like he does much, but he's fine. Yeah. Another just delightful line. This is probably the last line I'll point out, but where he gets lost trying to find his way into the police like area, and he has a weakness in cartography, the curse of the homosexual.
Yeah.
What a fucking bizarre, I don't know. That is a wonderful line. I in my life, I will never write a weakness in cartography is the curse of the homosexual.
Yeah. Just that kind of like very purpley prose speaking just always makes you think of Orson Welles. And that always makes me happy because Orson Welles is always that very pompous, whatever. Although that's not his character here isn't pompous, but just I always just like the.
Well, he's got a pompous writing style. He's a sesquipedalian.
Yes,
got to use it on the show.
Nice. Check that off the list. But this one's kind of this is what I was getting at earlier, where it's although this has some really emotional moments with Wright. There's a bit here where essentially what happens is the cops have Willem Dafoe, who's like this mob bookkeeper, basically, under wraps, and Ed Norton and his gang kidnap the commissioner's kid, and are holding him for ransom. Let out the Abacus is what Willem Dafoe's character's name. Let him out, and we'll let your son go. And they go to get him, and it ends with Nescaffier preparing dinner for the criminals and poisoning and killing them all, and that's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just
murders all the
radishes. Yeah, he murders all these people. And that's fun. They
shot first.
They're bad. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel good about that. Cuz I mean there's a bit later when they're trying to get the information and you see like police like roughing up like trying to figure out where these people are and they're roughing up criminals they know, and they drop a guy out of a plane. Yeah. But like he hits the ground and he just stands back up. It's very cartoonish. Yeah. That's fine. But like when they're just like, yeah, and then he murdered everyone and it's good. I felt very gross about that. I didn't feel.
Hey, John, let me tell you about something. It's called it's a line. It's thin and it's blue. Uh-huh. And on this show, we respect the thin blue line.
Are you not seeing the Punisher shirt that I'm wearing? But it's also just like because it might not bother me as much if they didn't bother to Saoirse Ronan, I believe is the actress' name. That like she has a bit role as a showgirl that has a conversation with Gigi, the commissioner's son. And they establish that she's okay. And they just establish that she's a young lady and over her head. Yeah, and then we just murder her and move on. Like,
yeah, that's the part that I agree with you on. It was weird that we got to meet her, have some empathy for her, and then she's fucking poisoned.
Yeah. It just like that was yeah. And then because it's also then because of all that, like there's all this stuff like so the police like just beat the shit out of all these criminals and then murdered all these people. And the thing is like, man, it's hard to be a writer. And it's hard to like be like, yeah, I'm with you. It's like that fucking stupid movie. I think it's called Swing Kids, where it's in Nazi Germany and these kids want to listen to swing and the Nazis are trying to take our jazz. Yeah. Oh no, not the jazz. Like, who gives a shit?
Here's the thing is I'm not trying to pull a writer card on you. but I feel like this is something that writers get, and not in a good way.
No.
I'm just saying there is a pompous assness to us that like the thought of like, yeah, writing is that important. It doesn't even occur to me that like, no, writing isn't as important as people dying. But in my head, it's like, you know, you got a good story out of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like how the Oscars, like you could have a movie, but like, well, so here's a movie about like, you know, what was some sort of genocide or like some real thing that's happening right now, or, you know, American involvement with the Congress in the 80s. And they're like, yeah, that's a big, important story. And this was a very good movie. But this movie's about how magic the movies are. So let's celebrate this movie. Yeah, it is like the artistic, like, I feel things more than other people. So we should focus on how I'm doing. With intentional, whether or not that was intentional, I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it's got to be. Anybody that writes is aware of. Well, no, that's bullshit.
I don't. For anybody with self-awareness and writes, but like I'm aware of it, and I'm half an idiot.
But
that lady, the showgirl, boy, does she look like young Leah Thompson.
Oh yeah, with the curly hair thing, sure.
Yeah, she just has like. I looked at her. I'm like, that can't be Leah Thompson because that's 30 years ago. But it's. I very much enjoyed. Where he's like, what color are your eyes? And she looks through the slot, and then it goes from color to black and white. I mean, from black and white to color. You see like these amazing blue eyes, and he goes, oh, like it like really hit him.
Yeah.
And again, kind of sucks. She dies, you know.
Yeah. But the use of color versus black and white, I think, works really well in this. I felt like sometimes in the Benicio del Toro that sometimes it felt a little arbitrary, the swap. Sometimes, which was fine because like this is pretty. Let's just go with that. But I think here it was used very effectively. Less so is the car chase, the animated car chase, where
weird choice.
It becomes this sort of like almost, because it's not even like a New Yorker cartoon. It's more like a New Yorker cover with the animation style and the art style. But it just goes on for so long. And again, like, 'cause I think some of it's just like the breakneck pace of this whole thing and how quickly stuff's thrown at you. It's just like, okay, and we're still going. Okay, all right, I don't care. I think some of it's just not being as involved because I liked some of the more like ridiculous stuff in the first sequence, or the second one, I suppose technically, with Benicio del Toro, like where it's this sort of the camera pans across these tableaus of people like mid fight, everything's like frozen, and or it's like, you know, riots or whatever. Like that kind of stuff was much more fun and efficient than sitting here and watching this animation that wasn't even that. I mean, it was fine. But it just seems like, you know, again, Wes Anderson just fussily making something to try to be in control of this little world that he has that doesn't really help move anything forward. Or I didn't think it added much.
I didn't work for me. I didn't dislike it, but I enjoyed the movie so much to that point where, and I enjoyed it in this is just what Wes Anderson feels like doing right now. It's almost like when somebody else is controlling the Spotify. We're just like, yeah, this song isn't doing it for me, but like whatever. I like what you've been doing so far. I just feel like, yeah, it's there. I like the strongman well enough.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun.
It's always nice
touch.
to see Edward Norton. I like him, unless he's like a weird sex pest, then I don't. But
I think right now
I'm pretty sure he's not.
I think
so I'm allowed
he's
to
just an asshole. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I didn't quite understand, and this is one of the things that I think I need to rewatch. I love Bill Murray and Jeffrey Wright talking because those are two actors that just let's have my dinner with Andre with just them at a table. That'd be great. But where he's like he's talking about the piece. He's like, that's all he says. He says one thing. He's like, well, he did say one more thing to me, but I cut it because it made me sad, which great line. It's like, what does it say? And then he cuts to Nescafe talking about the flavor of the poison and how he kind of recognizes or whatever. And I don't think I quite understood why that was sad or what the point was.
Well, that like,
and I think maybe I needed to watch it again. I don't know.
Well, it's that the flavor of the poison was unlike anything he's tasted before. And that like, even though like it almost killed him, the flavor of something that was so bad for him, like he's kind of excited and yearning for that. And I think that sort of reflects Roebuck's sort of situation where he is, you know, this life is hurting him a lot, apparently, like, cause he's very alone. And then, you know, being gay in this time is very bad. And so that like the thing that you love and are searching for hurting you is a thing that I think affected him a lot. I like how they kind of, what are you talking about Bill Murray being an absentee father in this, that they would like,
you were talking about that.
Yes. The moment with,
so you like the thing you said before.
No, what I'm saying is
no, I know. I'm sorry. It was just funny. It was just funny.
What I like is that the thing I said, but no, what I like that in the movie that they waited until now to really have Bill Murray when he bails out Roebuck Wright. Roebuck Wright was in prison for like basically being gay, like that there was a raid on like a gay club or something, and they got him. And his only relation to Bill Murray up to that point, he wasn't writing for him at that time. He just had sent him some work, like some work samples. And Bill Murray was like, hey, we're not running this, but if you want to do something in the future, let me know. And hey, if you're ever in ennui, look me up. Here's my number. And having typographic memory, remembered that Bill Murray was there. Call him up, and Bill Murray goes and bails him out and like hires him for a job and like is doing a job interview there. And I think like that tells you so much about Bill Murray's character and the kind of guy he was. And they kind of held out for that to drop that now towards the almost very end of the movie, I think was really great.
Again, Bill Murray he makes you want to feel things. Mm-hmm. And that's rare for me because emotions make me feel pain and I'm tired of that.
Well, it's a thing where I think like Bill Murray being this sort of pop culture figure that he sort of rose to in the mid to late aughts, that he doesn't have to do much now. Like his just appearance, you're like, okay, I see what I'm supposed to feel here. And, just like him playing that role, it brings a lot to it rather than say if Adrian Brody was that character.
Yeah. Oh God. Then the end is declines and deaths, and they sit around and workshop his obituary, which I thought was kind of touching. And I like the last line of the movie is what happens next when they're writing this guy's obituary. I think that completes the circle really well. Yeah,
it's nice. And again, like this was clearly a movie made with love for this type of thing. While I liked it in the movie, it didn't inspire me to go search out these people. Although, I mean, like...
Oh, yeah, I have no desire to search out them.
I've only read...
maybe you want to watch the movie again, maybe.
Yeah, I've read some James Baldwin, but that's it.
I've read a lot of Alec Baldwin. Mm-hmm. He's really insightful.
Yeah, his tweets are great.
Yeah.
They should make a movie about that.
Recommend it. Enjoy the movie. I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what my Anderson tier list is, but it's probably like higher middle. For me.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there. Yeah. There's a few that I definitely like a lot better. There's a few I like worse. So words. Recommendations. I will go first because it is quick. Moon Knight, the Disney Plus series, is actually good. I had no hopes for it. There's only 2 episodes in, but they're letting them do a really weird story that involves like multiple personalities and weird shit. It's just they're letting them be weird, which I was concerned it was just going to be another I'm going to punch things.
Yeah, because Moon Knight's a goofball, and I love how insane that character is, or the stories that
they're at least 2 episodes in, they're letting him do it, and Ethan Hawke is really good as the bad guy that I don't know his name, but it's so far so good, which was somewhat. Yeah. Anyway, maybe in 4 episodes I'll come back and go. Please,
forget it. Yeah.
That. But for now, it's quite good.
Interesting. For me, I would say Everything Everywhere All at Once. This movie is getting ridiculously overhyped, but I do think it's a good movie. I think it's fun. It's worth checking out. For as much as I fucking hate Swiss Army Man, and you can listen to our old episode about that to hear us both go off on it. This is actually really good by the same filmmakers. It's great. I do think people need to calm down with the hype, but I do highly recommend this movie. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic. It's very inventive, very fun, and shows you can do like goofy multiverse stuff in a way that isn't absolutely stupid or related to the Marvelverse.
Yes, I saw the preview for that before whatever dumb movie I was seeing, and I really enjoyed it. The preview made it look great. Mm-hmm. In fact, I texted you as I left the movie.
Yes, you did. And I was like, oh, wow, that looks kind of good. And when I saw who it was by, I was like, fuck, nope.
Yeah.
And then I had the chance to check it out, and I was I'm happy to report I was wrong.
Indeed. I mean, I know I've seen it, but anyway, let's do that. All right, so John, we are going to start a new exploration. Starting next episode, we're going to be doing what I like to call I Love Dick Month. And of course, that would be movies based on the work of Philip K. Dick.
Obviously, yes.
I just realized that actually has a secondary meaning. We are anti Richard Nixon, by the way. So now that that's cleared up, back to I Love Dick Month. We're just going to do a series on Philip K. Dick. And we are starting off with the 2002 Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
which, of course, as we all know, was loosely based on the short story The Minority Report by Philip K. Dick. Yeah, it stars that guy that we all agree with his religious beliefs, and featuring quickly becoming a frequent guest on the show, Max von Sydow, wasn't it?
A frequent guest. He's been on a lot of episodes. Funny guy. Works a little blue, but always a treat to have him on.
Oh yeah, I remember when he was talking about Minority Report. Oh boy, did he take that into some blue places? Let me tell you. So do that. We'll see you then. Follow us. Do the things that we tell you every week.
I agree fully with that. Yep.
All right.
All right. Bye. Bye.